My next point is to you, Dr. Saif. How appealing is Islamic finance to the investment environment, or to investors generally, and how conducive is it?
Well, I think perhaps the key point to mention about the appeal of Islamic finance is the fact that it didn't separate the financial investment from the investment it didn't separate the financial decision from the investment decision. Mm-hmm. And I think if you look at conventional financing and all the literature of conventional financing, which is based, of course, the interest rate, it's all about creating two parallel markets, one purely on finance and the other for real investments. And the two activities are more or less insulated. And I think this could also explain the explosive crises that occur now and then. Every maybe 5 or 10 or 15 years, some crises come. This basically because capitalists like to profit just by lending and borrowing at interest, keeping it away from the investment, from the real investment area. And for some time that may be okay, but eventually this will go off and the whole system collapses. I think Islamic finance has got this appeal of not separating financing from investment. If you take, for example, just the concept of mudaraba, for example, mudaraba, where there is arbul mal and mudarib, okay? One providing capital and the other providing management. Okay? Right. Here, investment and financing are two faces of the same coin. It's hardly possible to say that it's financial investment. Okay? Although I might agree with you that Islamic finance might have gone a few miles in the direction of conventional finance, instead of mimicking some of the conventional tools. But this is not genuine Islamic finance. Actually, the genuine appeal of Islamic finance is that it brings financing and investment to a common denominator, so that you can hardly distinguish them. Equity holders and investors, managers are investors. All people who are working in the economic world are contributing to investment, in the sense that they are sharing the risk. Actually, risk sharing is a key element in Islamic finance. Mm-hmm. Profit and loss sharing. This makes it a responsibility on all parties involved to try to take part in risk management. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. By the way, risk management is not a bad thing, but it is good so long as people are doing it all together. But if some parties are getting away out of it without risk and others doing it, this is a real problem. So I think the main appeal of Islamic finance is that makes this concept of risk, make it as a kind of social responsibility, where all social members, all parties, workers, capital owners, entrepreneurs, they're all working together, okay, to try to share the output of their enterprise and to try to risk the management between themselves and to bear the social responsibility towards that risk. Because risk is something that exists. It is there to remain. Of course, you've got to deal with it. You cannot just assume it away. Absolutely, okay. Absolutely. The best way of doing it is to manage it in the best possible way.
And minimize.
And try to minimize it through whatever arrangements, whatever policies, whatever governance policies that you adopt. I think this is the whole story about Islamic finance. Mm-hmm. And this is the real appeal of Islamic finance, is that it's stable in nature. It has got built-in stabilizers. It will never go off like bubbles. Right. That normally happen in conventional finance, because there's no way for people to make profit away from real investment. All financing has got to go through real investment in order to get a reward for.
Very good. Okay. Dr. Mashhour?
There's also some practical issues. Let me give you a case. Some people might criticize some Islamic financial transactions that it looks very much like a conventional.
Yeah.
There's implied interest that you can compute, but in all cases, I once attended a seminar. There was a big debate, and the president of the Islamic Development Bank made a very interesting comment. He says, in all modes of Islamic finance, in the case of default, Islamic finance will shine, because in conventional finance, even in default, the meter keeps ticking. They keep accruing more interest. They take you to court. They try to and until you pay, they keep accruing interest. In Islamic finance, that's it. I mean, if you default, whatever implied interest you agreed upon, okay, that's your debt, and then you have to pay it over time. He said once we lent $10 million to a poor African nation, and they defaulted. They also got commercial loans from other Western institutions, and they defaulted as well. He said over the years, we got our money back. Okay, little by little, we got our 10 million. But the 10 million that they took from commercial, entities, non-Sharia compliant, became $30 million. They just kept on, increasing and increasing.
Building and accumulating, yeah.
And just, put a bigger strain. And here comes the compassion of Islamic finance. In case of default, this is where you need to be compassionate. And all financial institutions, understand that there's this risk of default, and they make provisions for that. Non-performing loans. I mean, every institution has that.
Sure.
So it's something that's to be expected, that there will be some default scenarios. But in that case, and the Islamic finance becomes really superior from a social and economic perspective, allowing people to recover again. And I think for that reason, you could actually price it higher, the lending, because you're taking less risk in case of default. So.
Yes.
But now, Islamic finance is very competitive with financial instruments. You can actually even, say, well, I'll be paying this much interest rate, and you can compute implied interest in Islamic financial models. But you always have to keep in mind that this compassionate mode in the case of default will always distinguish Islamic finance regardless of the type of transaction or the type of vehicle involved.